Welcome to Level Up with Winnie Sun.
Well, hello, friends, and welcome to the show. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Happy Tuesday to you. How you doing? Hello, CrossX Fire joins for YouTube. It's great to see you as well. And if you're joining us on the replay, a big hello. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's wonderful to have you with us. A big welcome also to my friends at Modern Mom, as we're now also streaming to you, so you can stay on top of relevant business and financial news. Let's start with the market, let you know how it closed. The Dow closed down 104 points today. The NASDAQ closed down 14, and the S&P closed down 12 points. Investors are hesitant today as we await President Joe Biden's infrastructure plan, which is scheduled to be shared tomorrow in Pittsburgh, in fact. The infrastructure bill is expected to include things such as funding for traditional items like roads, bridges, and railroads, but also monies put aside to help promote a more carbon neutral future with electric cars, advanced batteries, and more eco-friendly buildings and structures. So good news all across the board. However, the big question is how are we going to fund this infrastructure bill, you may ask? I mean, we spent so much on the pandemic. Money doesn't grow on trees. Well, maybe it grows on tax trees. Well, you know, those 2017 tax cuts? Well, soon we may need to say goodbye to them because Wall Street has their eyes certainly on how this proposed spending will translate into greater taxes on U.S. corporations and wealthy taxpayers. This could also cause actually some shock to the stock market in turn, perhaps temporarily souring investors who are already concerned about these tax cuts that were thinking they actually would take place in 2022, but perhaps they'll actually come sooner than businesses and taxpayers were hoping for. On other matters, Apple today announced that it will host its annual Worldwide Developers Conference, aka the WWDC, June 7th through the 11th in an all virtual format. The event's going to be completely free for developers, and the event, WWDC 21, will offer a unique insight into the future of iOS, the iPad OS, and all their other OS properties. Apple shares that this is an opportunity for developers to learn about their new technologies and tools and how this is going to have an impact on the developers' apps, games, and such. I imagine there's going to be a lot of talk about security. As you know, we talked earlier this week about how Apple is all about transparency for its users and really want to keep things secure for us. And also, Apple shared that this year's Swift Student Challenge is going to be happening again, which is an opportunity for the next generation of developers to demonstrate their coding prowess, their skills by creating a Swift playground. That should be really cool. So if you have a budding programmer in your life, know that Apple is now accepting submissions. So I'm thinking, I might have to talk to my 12-year-old. Maybe he's got an idea there. Apple's going to be sharing more info on their program before WWDC 21. And you can find all that information on the Apple website and their Apple developer website for more information. Okay. But today, let me tell you, I'm so excited. If you didn't know already, I'm actually taking the rest of the week off after today. But I saved today because I'm excited because my friend Brian is here on the show. Brian is a marketing consultant, adjunct professor at NYU based in Philadelphia. He's an entrepreneur, just a great, great friend who through his consulting practice advises everyone from entrepreneurs at growing startups to marketing leaders at top NGOs and Fortune 100 companies. Brian helps organizations earn meaningful results through digital marketing, social media, content marketing, providing consulting services, training, workshops, coaching programs, and so much more. But I love this quote, and I want to share this with you. He says, think of my support as continuing education on marketing and career development to help you be more effective and save you time. He's been named digital marketing expert by Entrepreneur and a top social media pro by Social Media Examiner. He definitely knows his stuff, but we're going to get into this. Brian, welcome. How are you?
Hi, Winnie. I'm so happy to be here. I'm doing great, all things considered, and I'm just excited to chat with you today.
Well, I'm sorry we can't do this in New York City. Last time you and I met, we were in beautiful New York at the NASDAQ studios from a good friend of our show, and that's where we met. So selfishly, I wish we were there again right now. But
same. This is second to that. We get to chat and hang out for a while. That's pretty cool. But yeah, I wish we could be together in person. But next time, hopefully at the other side of the pandemic.
after the pandemic, absolutely. But I love your philosophy on life, and I think today we'd like to pick your brain and learn more from you. And I'm really excited to introduce you to our audience because I've gotten a chance to get to know you through the years, but more importantly, I value your friendship not only from your expertise, but also sort of your philosophy on life and balance of all things work too. So we're going to get into that too. So let's do this. Let's have a little fun. Those of you who are joining us, welcome aboard. I know many are excited to see Brian as I am. I see Zen, I see Ben, I see Joshua, I see Wendy, I see all of you in different channels. Do know that we're going to be monitoring your feedback and your questions and answers too. So if you have a question, or Brian, definitely submit it. Let's start with a little social media trivia. I think all of you definitely want to jump in on this. It'll be a lot of fun. Let's start with the first question, and that is, which social media platform has had the longest post lifespan? Now, I'd love to see what you think. Is it Twitter? Is it LinkedIn? Is it YouTube, Pinterest, Facebook, Instagram? What do you think, Zen? I'd love to see what you think, Ben, as well. And definitely, of course, our guest of honor, Brian, what do you think the answer is?
So I think the answer is Pinterest, because Pinterest is a social network, but it's more so like a search engine in a sense, so that when you post beautiful images and videos, etc., it stays there for the long term for people to find through search. So I'm going to say Pinterest.
You're going to say Pinterest. Okay, Brian says Pinterest. Zen is saying YouTube. I saw that, Zen. Great answer too. That's a good one. Actually, to be honest with you, I would have guessed YouTube as well. And I see Joshua also says, I'm going to say YouTube. I was going to say YouTube as well. But there is a reason Brian does what he does and we do what we do, because in fact, Brian is absolutely right. It is Pinterest. Pinterest is where things stay, have the longest post lifespan. In fact, I've learned a lot about this recently. And to be honest with you, that is one social media channel I will say I need to definitely step it up on. I definitely am weak in that area. Thank you, Brian, for the answer. Let's go to the second question to have some more fun. And that is, what would you guess is the average Twitter user session? Like, how long are people generally on Twitter when they use a session? Would it be 21 minutes, 62 minutes, 1.15 minute, 8.5 minutes, 37.89 minutes? I don't know, Joshua, Zen. I see, Modern Mom is here. I see so many of you joining us. Ben, what do you think? How long do you think people stay on Twitter? Now, honestly, I feel like my community is probably on Twitter a little bit longer, especially on Wednesdays, because we typically have our tweet chat, which lasts about an hour and a half. So, Zen, what do you think? Zen, I know you're on Twitter quite a bit, but let's I'm letting you answer first because you're probably thinking, well, Brian's going to tell us the answer and we'll all know now. All right, well, let's go. Let's see, Brian, what do you guess? Do you know this answer?
So I'm torn. I'm torn between two options. So it's certainly going to be on the shorter end because when a typical user, not necessarily you and I who do a lot of marketing stuff, but a typical user is just going to be on there quick, reading the news, maybe tweet a little bit to their friends, and then dip out. It's very short attention span kind of network. So I'm torn between number 3, 1.15 minutes, and number 4, 8.5 minutes. But if I had to guess, I'll say number 3.
Number 3, 1 minute and 15 seconds. I'm trying to think. What would I guess? This is a good one. Okay, so Zen says 1.15 as well. Wendy is saying I spend short time on Twitter, and I see a lot of people guessing number 1, which is 21 minutes. Well, you know what? This is one of those questions where, really makes you think. And there's no right or wrong answer because one of us, like Brian said, some of us spend more time on social media, certain more time on Twitter. And I would say that probably if you look back at the last, past presidency, I think many of us probably spend a little bit more time on social media and Twitter for sure, just to kind of keep track with news, right? Totally. So, but the answer is, believe it or not, and Brian was actually, he had narrowed it down to us. If he had called the lifeline, he would have gotten it, but it was number 4. And Brian said it's between 3 and 4. So
I'm fired.
really,
I'm fired.
pretty sure you're not fired. But yeah, number 4 is 8.5 minutes, believe it or not, is what the average user is on Twitter. Yeah, Wendy actually got it right. Wendy said number 4. All right, I love it. All right, next question. This is our last question, so don't worry. Okay, this is a question. What social media platform is Brian most excited about currently? Okay, this is a question that even I don't know the answer for. So I see Brian Schumann joining on LinkedIn. Let's ask the group. What social media platform is Brian, obviously our leader today, most excited about? Is it Twitter? Is it LinkedIn? Is it YouTube, Pinterest, Facebook, Instagram, or 7 other? Tell us more. All right, Zen, what do you think? Brian, what do you think? I have to see.
This is a trick question. So I'm kind of equally excited about 2 social networks right now. I have a hard time narrowing down to one in a lot of scenarios. So there's kind of 2 that I'm really excited about right now.
Okay, so then that's what we'll do. We'll let Brian pick 2. So for those of you who are participating today, here's some fun. Whoever can pick one of the 2 that Brian names off, guess what? If you want TurboTax this year for tax filing, all you got to do is send me a message. The winner will get a free edition of TurboTax for your 2020 tax season. Does that sound good? All right, Brian, drum roll if we can. I guess there's no drum roll. Yeah. What's the answer?
So I'm very excited about LinkedIn, which I saw Wendy and Brian get right, but I'm also, so number 2, LinkedIn, and then I'm also picked number 7, which is TikTok. I am very excited about TikTok for business and just using it as a consumer too.
I love that. Okay, Brian and Wendy, congratulations. Definitely send me a direct message. Let us know if you would like your TurboTax subscription for 2020. Send that in and we'll be happy to get it over to you. Sound good? So excited, right? We have a big discussion today, Brian. I'm here to learn from you. And one of the things that I would love to talk more about is social media trend. You know, we often read about it. Tell me, what's a social media trend? And, you know, how do we go to adopt or decide whether to adopt it or ignore a trend?
Sure. So my definition of a social media trend is kind of a consistent pattern of activity on social media in user behavior. Basically, what are consumers, customers consistently doing on social media? What are their behaviors? It could also be kind of what are businesses consistently doing that's working, that's resonating, that other businesses, other marketers can learn from. So it's basically a pattern and activity that can inform us as business owners and marketers to hopefully drive results from social media. This can be something quite large, like a larger trend in consumer behavior, like using audio experiences on social media, or it could be something quite singular, quite specific, like how the functionality of TikTok duets, where you can duet someone's TikTok and kind of react to it, is being rolled out onto other social networks like Snapchat and Facebook, Instagram in the near future. And that's kind of a trend, like a very tiny micro trend, whereas audio experiences is a macro trend. And why are trends important? Like, kind of, how do you figure out if you should pay attention or not? It's a simple question of, you know, you hear about, oh, these are the marketing trends you must know. I feel like a lot of articles are kind of started off like that, and it makes it feel like you must be doing these things to succeed with your use of social media, which isn't necessarily true. But what you must do is pay attention to some of these trends and say, okay, that seems interesting, whether it's, you know, duets on TikTok or audio experiences, and say, does this matter to my customers? Does this align with what we're already doing as a business on social media? Or is it something that would be a natural addition to our overall kind of marketing mix? I just don't think there's a one size fits all to what you should be doing on social media. You have to pick and choose and assess, you know, what a trend means and kind of does it apply to your scenario as a company.
Right, right. And you talked about TikTok. I mean, it's really interesting. Talk about duets. And you talked about using TikTok for businesses. And oftentimes, businesses, they don't necessarily think of TikTok as a place of their next customer or next client. Um, your opinion on and your thoughts on that, because you mentioned that. I think it's really important that we get your expertise and idea of ways that we can utilize maybe duets on TikTok for our own business.
Sure. So I love TikTok. I think they did a masterful job creating this social network. The algorithm is fantastic. The user experience, the way users discover content is fantastic. So that's one of the reasons why I'm kind of obsessed with TikTok right now. But stepping back from a kind of a business perspective, I always think about, okay, as a business, how should you be approaching social media? There's a paid bucket and an organic bucket. So the paid bucket is, where should you be investing your advertising dollars to pay for attention on certain social networks, right? And then there's an organic bucket, which is, where should you be posting consistently on social media without necessarily a paid budget, right? Just posting content from your own account, or creating a community on social media, kind of free actions, free activities on these social networks. I say free because there's not like a price to just start posting from your TikTok account. There's not a cost to it, but there's a cost to like creating that content and your team's resources and whatnot. But so with that paid and organic bucket, right now, there's a lot of organic reach. Basically, it's easy for businesses to get a ton of visibility right now on places like TikTok and LinkedIn, and Clubhouse, for example. And this will always change and shift and morph over time. For a long time, it was easy to get a lot of visibility for free organically on Facebook and Instagram, etc. And that changes over time as these networks evolve, typically because they're offering, paid advertising options, and they want marketers and companies to pay to get attention there. But for now, LinkedIn and TikTok and social network like Clubhouse, you can get a lot of visibility for free if you're consistently creating content on platforms like that. So that's one of the reasons why I'm very excited about TikTok, is that anyone from Goldman Sachs, this big business with tons of resources, can find success on TikTok, to a individual business owner, a company of one, can find success on TikTok, because organic reach is pretty democratized on TikTok. That's one of its big benefits, and one of the ways the social network incentivizes people to get active on their regular customers, because they want to, their content to be seen. They want to be like the next influencers. That's why a lot of teens are very active on TikTok, because it's pretty common to get visibility for your content, regardless of who you are. It comes with consistency on the platform. So those are some of the reasons why I'm excited about TikTok, and kind of how I think about different social networks, and how I think businesses should be thinking about social media. Yeah.
Right. And Brian, you mentioned something that I want to come back to on, and I think is really important. You talked about like, this is an opportunity for organic reach, right? For people to see your message. But you mentioned the key thing is that consistency. So when you think about consistency, right? Let's say you're talking about small business owner versus a Goldman Sachs.
Yeah.
I'm sure people ask you this all the time. I'm sure your consulting clients ask you all the time, Brian, how often do I need to post or share or deliver my message? What are your thoughts on that?
So my kind of high level advice on how often to be sharing content is often enough that you're not forgotten by your audience, but also balancing that with, you don't want to be annoying and irritate them and post too often. So I typically say, in general, you need to be posting content on a consistent basis, usually multiple times a month and a few times a week. I think the easiest way to think about it and commit to it is kind of similar to what you do, Winnie, is set up a show. It doesn't have to be quite to the production level and excellence as this show. Hopefully, other businesses will get to that point. But commit to like a consistent series where you're like, okay, I'm a small grocery chain, and every day, every other day, we're going to feature maybe it's the the latest produce of the day, or behind the scenes of like stocking shelves and like kind of the organizational process. People are obsessed with organizing right now and kind of chiming in on that trend, or doing interviews with customers consistently. It doesn't have to be this big production, but investing in like a series that people know to come back to and have a sense of how often you'll be sharing it, whether it's once a week on Instagram Live, or every day on TikTok, or every day on Twitter. So I would say businesses shouldn't get too caught up in, am I posting enough? Worry about kind of setting a consistent cadence so that people know to expect a certain type of content from you, whether you have all the resources in the world or just, you're stretched thin.
Yeah, that makes sense, because a lot of times we just feel like how much is enough, right? And you made a good point. I mean, I think Anne Hathaway said recently that, I'm taking a year off movies because you might get tired of seeing me. So it's that fine line of interaction, but not too much interaction, that you turn off users and connections and relationships. So one thing, Brian, too, is we want to talk about, what developments do you see? I mean, I know this is an area that you completely are deep dive in every day. You're doing research, you're studying it, you're consulting businesses and people on this. What developments are you seeing in the future of social media wise, and maybe what you're kind of excited about too? Well, we know TikTok for sure.
Yes. Yeah. TikTok it's just such a fun app, and there's so much creativity on there. A lot of creative ways brands can connect, and consumers can connect with each other. But I would say overall, a big trend that we touched on a little bit is the kind of audio experiences. I know on a not too long ago episode of your show, you talked about social audio, so I won't go into it a ton, but audio experiences are a consistent trend that businesses should consider. Consumers have expressed interest in connecting with through voice, whether it's Clubhouse, social network like Discord, Chalk, or it's features on existing social networks like Twitter. Twitter has voice tweets now, and Twitter Spaces.
I love Twitter Spaces. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's for you. It's a natural extension. You are a leader representing Sun Group Wealth Partners. You're the marketing arm, and going to audio experiences is a very natural extension for you, right? And I think that's certainly a prime opportunity for audio experiences, is if your company has a leader that already has a personal brand or is quite active on social media, it's a great natural extension to like help them further connect with your customer base. So I think social audio, there's a lot of opportunities there, because audio is a little bit more intimate, it's more raw. There's certainly challenges there too, and moderating what is said on these platforms and whatnot. But I definitely am excited about that. I think that's a particularly interesting development. Another kind of exciting one that's in particular for brands is social commerce. So like selling products directly on social networks.
Like Amazon.
100%. You heard Amazon Live, right? That's actually not even that new. I mean, they've like relaunched it recently, but they had it before. It was kind of like the modern, it's QVC meets Gen Z.
Right.
And who's really leading the world on this is China, the Chinese market. The Chinese social networks, from WeChat to Douyin to the kind of like Chinese e-commerce platforms like Tmall and Alibaba. They're doing a lot of live shopping, where you go live on these marketplaces or live on these social networks, and whether it's with a brand hosting the live or it's an influencer. They have a lot of creators active on live experiences selling stuff in China, and that's slowly going to creep over to the West, and it's already starting to come about, as you just mentioned. Amazon, TikTok is integrating some functionalities. TikTok is a Chinese founded social network, so they're kind of like very integrated. There's like a different version of TikTok in China that likely already has this functionality, so it's a natural extension for them. So, and social commerce has already existed a bit on social media. You can like do Instagram shopping. You can buy a product in a few clicks, a few button presses, and purchase a product. But it's still in its infancy. But I see there's a lot of opportunities there for brands to innovate. And then kind of one other trend that is kind of one to be wary of a little bit is that there's a lot of regulation coming to social media soon.
Right. Apple's been very clear about that.
100%. And it's probably in our best interest as human beings, as consumers, right? We don't want these companies to dominate all aspects of our lives. There needs to be controls and checks and balances, right? And I'm really all for it. There's some thoughtful regulation kind of in the works, or with Facebook and Google. It remains to be seen how that actually pans out. But it's all going to be very privacy related, which is in our best interest, so that our data is protected, and there isn't nefarious actors at play, and we can have better control of our data. But for marketers, this may we're not sure yet, but this may impact how we're able to target folks on social media, how we're able to target specific demographics. These regulations may change those dynamics. So something to be mindful of. I have a whole video lesson, or sort of audio lesson on this in my LinkedIn Learning course, which is all about social media marketing trends, hence the topic today, and where I go into each trend that I think is noteworthy and you should consider potentially adopting for yourself. And I interview a former Facebook policy executive who's now a professor at the Harvard Kennedy School, who does research in this area, and he was breaking down all the different regulations and how they would potentially impact marketers in the near future. So definitely check that out. I'm not an expert at government regulations, but he is. So we chat about it and talk about what this means for social media.
I love that. And, you'll see, we shared Brian's LinkedIn Learning courses. This is definitely an area that you'll want to check out. Many of you have access to it at your place of work. Over 150,000 students have taken Brian's courses. I'm sure that number is significantly larger now, but he is definitely someone I love his courses. And so if you have an interest in learning more of anything that Brian's spoken about today, or just social media in general, highly recommend you check out his courses. They are definitely ones that I keep bookmarked and I revisit. So thank you so much, Brian, for doing that. But you know what, Brian, you're in the hot seat today because we're gonna have some fun, because it's time for a speed round. You ready?
Yes, let's do it.
All right. Now, I will tell you guys, Brian is a good friend of mine. I'm excited to ask him these questions, and I picked some pretty interesting ones to really keep him on his toes. Okay, so the first one is, Brian, if you could live and work from anywhere in the world for a full month and get paid 3 times your current income, where would you go? And the second part of it is, who would you take with you?
So, if I could work anywhere, I would say Alaska. It's just so different from, I'm in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I've never lived in such a cold, kind of rural area. So that would just be really cool to live there. And yeah, and I would take my husband because he's great.
Aww. Aw, I love it. Well, then you can even celebrate your anniversary at one of those like igloo hotels. That would be pretty cool. You'll have to really tell me how that is. Actually, I love that you picked Alaska, because someone actually told me, I'm here in California. They said you have to do a road trip one day and drive all the way to Alaska. And I'm like, bucket list for sure. I love that. All right, Brian, second question for you is, if you had to give up one social media platform forever, which one would it be and why?
So I would probably have to give up Facebook.
Ooh, why?
it's really it's evolved in some negative ways over the years. Facebook is where I got into social media. It's like I have such an emotional connection in many ways as a millennial myself. It's like my generation's like connection to social or introduction, but it's changed, and in some ways not for the better. And I'd be okay if it just went away. I would be okay without it. I'm not off of Facebook because I do think it's important to like stay, involved and whatnot. But
well, that's what you do for a living, right? So you got to know everything.
Yeah. So I would probably nix that out because now there's just like too many people I know that I don't really want to know about anymore. My personal life is still on there, So
Right. I understand. Well, thank you so much, Brian. It's been so wonderful to have you here. I wish we got to get together sometime. Next time everything's behind us, we'll get together, spend some time together. But for those of you who are watching, you're probably thinking, oh my goodness, I want to meet Brian. Where can I learn more? Brian, where should people go to learn more about you, your services, all the information that we shared?
Yeah, just check out brianhonigman.com. That's where you can reach out to me. I have tons of free articles there. I have some free courses, free interviews I've done on all different kinds of marketing related topics. So if you want to learn more, there's a lot of goodies there. And Winnie, chatting with you is always a joy. You are not only so smart, make me smarter every time I talk with you or see your content online, but you're so genuinely nice, which is an uncommon duality. So I'm very happy to get to spend time with you today.
Well, thank you, my friend. And I'm going to just say, I'm going to put it out in the universe. We want to definitely have you back. We would love to have you back so we can learn more. But thank you so much, Brian. Thank you so much. I got to say it right back at you. You are so genuinely nice and so insightful. So I love learning from you. As a reminder, you can also find full episodes of Level Up with Winnie Sun, and soon to be, you're going to see Brian's episode there very soon on NASDAQ, Amazon Fire, and Roku. So thank you so much, my friends. Be well. And as a reminder, I'm actually taking the rest of the week off. So you won't be seeing me going live the rest of the week. And on Friday, it's Good Friday, which means the stock market is also closed. So you won't have to worry about that either. Have an amazing week, and I will catch you again on Monday. Brian, I'm actually going to take some days off.
Yay! Please relax and log off.
Yay! I definitely can do that. That I can handle, my friend. Love to you. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for watching. I'll be back on Monday. Take a few days off. Enjoy, enjoy the beach for me or something. Have some fun. All right. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Now. Bye.